face of modern political life, you'd be forgiven for forgetting that General Michael Flynn was once a U.S. national security advisor. Before pleading guilty to a single charge of lying to FBI agents about his alleged conversations with the Russian ambassador, charged, convicted, and forgotten, Michael Flynn may be to all but his family and most loyal conservative fans. But that apparently may be all changing, and in some rather shocking ways. According to analysis by Margot Cleveland at The Federalist, a motion by Michael Flynn to withdraw his guilty plea based on government misconduct is likely in the works, based on recent underreported events at the D.C. Circuit Court. Now, Hawk Watchers, you may be excused for assuming that conclusion is simply a feverish fantasy headline willed into existence by Sean Hannity, but evidence that something isn't quite right in the Flynn case appears to be mounting by the day, and all of it carries some rather grave implications for the future of Robert Mueller's Russiagate investigation. Joining us today to examine the facts in this legal upside down is none other than our own legal and media analyst, Lionel of Lionel Media. It's been too long. Welcome.
Thank you.
Man, always a pleasure. So now, what's interesting about this is this may have gone unnoticed by many, but the judge who first accepted Flynn's guilty plea and who is also one of 3 FISA court judges in D.C. overseeing wiretap applications like the ones that targeted, Donald Trump's campaign. Now, he, for some reason we don't know, recused himself from the Flynn case within days of the guilty plea deal. The new judge on the case, Emmett Sullivan, ordered the DOJ to hand over any potentially exonerating evidence to Flynn's legal team. Lionel, why is that order so important, and why would a judge issue it after a defendant has already pled guilty and made the plea deal?
Great question. This judge was instrumental, was involved in the Ted Stevens case. And he has a standing order that says all exculpatory or Brady information from the 1963 case, Brady against Maryland, all exculpatory evidence, evidence that would tend to help somebody, all must be provided. Now, what's odd about this is, in federal court in particular, to withdraw a plea is never heard. Why? Imagine if all of a sudden people said, Judge, when I pled last week, I was thinking about it and, nah, I'm going to change my mind. No, there's a finality because you're told during the plea colloquy, are you pleading guilty? Because you are guilty. Has anybody promised you anything or threatened you in any way? Are you under the influence of any alcohol? Are you really sure? Do you realize you're giving up the right to a trial, the right to appeal? And you go through this. So when you say later on, I'm changing my mind, and what has happened is that it appears that Mr. Comey has said through some particular, at some juncture, I'm not sure if the FBI really believes or believed that this man, General Flynn, was lying about meeting the Russian ambassador. Now you're telling us? Yeah. Now? So what they're doing is he's going to now withdraw it. So what does that mean? We start over again. Here's my question to you. He already pled guilty under oath. Can't we use that one again? Can't we say, fine, not so fast, General. We're going to use this little plea where you swore that you pled guilty, so we'll just do it again. This time, giving you this information. The issue is that he pled guilty not knowing about this information. You see, a prosecutor is after justice. I know, you're thinking, right. He's not supposed to merely go after, he's supposed to tell you, listen, Tabitha, just want you to know something. Out of the 10 people that we have, none could pick you on the lineup. And Tyrell, all of the stuff that we had on wiretaps of you, none of them turned out. Anything that could help you, anything, I can't hide anything. But this judge, remember, appointed throughout his career by Reagan, H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, an esteemed jurist who really is an honest-to-God great judge who says, I don't like shenanigans. So Flynn, and I've been waiting for this, is going to walk. And once you walk, they just say keep going. Nobody's calling for his head, his scalp. And not only that, if I could just say one more thing, the worst kind of witness you can have is a person who lied, who pled guilty to lying.
Yeah.
State your name for the record. General Flynn. You're the same General Flynn who was fired for lying to Mike Pence? Yes. And you pled guilty to lying to the FBI? Yes. But you're not lying now.
Right.
You're a witness. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
They just want him to go. He's a stinker.
Yeah.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, as I've called him, less than truthful,
Yeah.
Mike
Yes.
Flynn.
Yeah,
Less than
less than
truthful.
Indeed.
More trouble than he's
Indeed.
worth, Mike Flynn. That's a personal opinion. But so you were talking a little bit about Judge Sullivan's background. I think that's where it's really interesting when you say, you know, this seems like a straight shooter. It's really like this is a true believer in justice and law and the rule of law. And in this situation, yeah, it seems odd that it would be the idea of I was lying about lying about lying.
Yeah.
What is it about this judge that we can learn by his actions in this case? I mean, you mentioned worked for Reagan, was appointed by Reagan. Can you tell us a little more about Judge Sullivan?
Well, what is interesting is that his involvement with the Stevens case apparently really affected him. You know, Brady material is understood. Prosecutors, I was one, we knew this. But for a judge to say, oh, and by the way, Prosecutor Wallace, I want to remind you of your duty. Yeah, Judge, I know this. No. I want to remind you, we have a standing order. It's like, well, no kidding. He apparently is very allergic to judicial and juridical shenanigans. And it makes my heart sing. Because remember, do you know the power of being a federal judge appointed for life?
Yeah.
And if you think impeachment of a president stuff, getting rid of a judge? No. Once they put that robe on, I don't care if they were Republicans or whatever. There's a sense of autonomy. They don't have to run for re-election. They're there for life. Presidents come, presidents go, they stay. And it's that kind of sometimes imperiousness, which can be a problem, but it gives you autonomy. And it lets you really show who you are. And this judge appears to be a straight shooter.
You know,
I love straight shooters.
I want to talk. You mentioned Comey earlier. Brian York at the Washington Examiner brings to our attention a visual and bizarre fact that under oath, James Comey, told lawmakers that the FBI agents who interviewed Flynn did not believe that Flynn had lied to them or that any inaccuracies in his answers were intentional. In other words, the stories simply didn't really match up. If Flynn had lied to the FBI, wouldn't then Director Comey know that? And presumably try to avoid perjuring himself before Congress. But on the flip, if Comey wasn't lying, how can Robert Mueller charge Flynn with lying to the FBI when the agents themselves are saying he didn't? How does that balance?
You ask a great question. The question I would ask if I was the prosecutor stuck with this dog is like, excuse me, did anybody not talk to Comey? Where did this come from? Now, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. DOJ, FBI, you mean this little memorandum slipped by you that nobody in the course of this said, hey, folks, anybody see this memo from Comey? Yeah. He says here that he doesn't believe the FBI. This guy pled guilty to this. And here's the thing. People plead guilty for a variety of reasons. I'll plead guilty if you let my kid go.
Yeah.
I'll plead guilty because I don't want to mortgage my house for something. I'll plead guilty because it's just not that big of a deal. And remember, let me tell you what Mueller's got. Forget those 13 people last week. That was a dog of a case. None of them, I don't even think they exist. I think they were trolls. I think they were people in Russia that you can't extradite. I don't even think they're real. But anyway, you had 4. Manafort and Gates, who basically were involved in activities involving Ukraine that predated Trump.
Right.
Then you've got Flynn and Papadopoulos, both of them pleading guilty to lying. Nothing.
Yeah.
Mueller's walking around here saying, how much have I cost the taxpayers? Like he cares. What do I have to show? I've got 13 imaginary Russians. I know what we're going to do with this. I got 2 people nobody cares. And by the way, they're going to fight this one. I've got Papadopoulos. Who? His name should be Who Papadopoulos, because that's what people say. Who? And then Flynn, General Flynn. I got him on lying, and then We lied? We lied to the guy who pled guilty to lying? I mean, so this Judge Sullivan is thinking, any other surprises for me? I mean, this case, how many millions? Think about the child trafficking, human rights violations, gun violations. You pick whatever you think is important. How much? The FBI, instead of finding out why this nutcase in Florida was threatening to kill people, they were too busy with imaginary Russian trolls and this. I mean, it makes the average American, and not so average American, whatever that means, say, who's running the show here? I mean, what's happening?
It's almost as if the system itself is broken and can't be fixed by a two-party system and a simple answer.
Yeah, it really is, Lionel. And I got to say thank you. And that's the thing that really gets me at the end of the day. And thank you for really crystallizing that, because when I think people can get lost in the legality and the words being thrown around. But thank you for really crystallizing that for us and really laying this out. Always a pleasure having you on, Lionel. Been too long. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
All right.